Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry. Today we'll be recording episode 49. This will be the fourth episode of chapter 6. So, last episode was about as colossal an episode as you can get, especially at this point in the chapter. Right? This would be a big episode at any point, right? We saw two murders, but given how early we are in this chapter, that's like kind of colossal, right? I'm really interested to see how exactly this is going to continue to play out, right? Like, it's going to be the aftermath of this. I assume this is eventually going to be figured out. Um, and I assume that's what the junkyard scene was, right? Maybe Rena kind of confessing what she did. Which is interesting. But then you also have other things like the flickering lights in her memory when she tries to remember the time she went crazy, right? And it's like, what's causing those, right? Like, I mean, I am assuming it's whatever cured the craziness in the first place, right? It also leaves some kind of gap in your memory. Are we going to see that kind of Rena kind of get over it in a way, right? Like she remembers everything, and maybe it gives us some insight as to what's going on. I don't know. There's a lot of interesting things that could still happen in this chapter. Also, you have the kind of Rika Tips subplot going on in the background, where a new character appeared, right? Brand new character. We don't know who it is, but this is very interesting. A new character at this point in the game is always like, whoa, whoa. And the big thing is Rika, when asked if that character is the reason that they're dying, they answered yes, right? And so I don't know, right? Like, what's going on with this character? Who are they? Right? I think my first guess, I think there's any number of things it could be, but assuming this character isn't literally killing Rika, right? Right? Assuming that is not the case. My best guess has always been she's dying because she's the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama, in quotes. And if this person is actually the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama, maybe she's dying for them, I don't know. Like, does that make sense? Because it feels like Rika does have weird powers that I would maybe associate with being the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. But we've already established she's probably not in control of time loops, so I don't know. Maybe it is someone else that really is, and she just happens to remember these time loops. Either way, I think we should just go ahead and move on, and not spend a ton of time theorizing on that. But definitely very interesting, right? And I want to see some development on that too. But let's go ahead and just jump right into the sixth subchapter here. It had been very hot for the past few days, and the corpses went rotten quickly. Wow, that's a hell of an intro to this subchapter. Any housewife knows how fast fresh meat can go bad. I know it too. That's why the first thing I did was to dismember the corpses. Jesus. This is one hell of a start to this subchapter. There was only one reason why I needed to dismember them. I had to reduce them to a portable size in order to carry them to a place where they'll never be found. When men see the words dismembered corpses, they'll probably feel disgusted because they don't cook. But housewives are used to taking the guts out of fish, and they sometimes even see living maggots. They take the maggots off of the food, or even cook it with the maggots still on. That doesn't seem sanitary. The heat will kill them, after all. Women don't tell men what they do in the kitchen because men wouldn't eat the food if they knew. Well, I guess you got me there. Here I am. That sounds unsanitary. So it didn't really bother me much to dismember them. I was released from all of my problems by killing them. Cleaning up the mess was like nothing to me, because I got freedom and regained my happiness. I dismembered the corpses using carpenter's tools like a saw and a hatchet. I'm wearing a black sweatsuit I bought for today because I thought I might get stained with blood. Bloodstains don't show on black fabric, and I can just throw it away after it's done. I brought a plastic sheet I found in the dump because I thought the blood might spread otherwise. If I did the work on this sheet, I could just burn it after I was done. In the end, dismembering human bodies is no different from preparing food on a chopping board. That's quite a view you've got there, Rena. I guess the actual actions can be relatively similar, which is really creepy when you put it like that. But obviously, I don't know. It's very different. Like, maybe, like in theory or even in practice, it can be kind of similar, right? Like what you're actually doing, the actual action of it. But, like, I don't know. Like, what is the word that I'm looking for? It like kind of the stigma behind it. It's very different, right? Like you can't exactly tell someone, "No, I was chopping up some human bodies," right? Like, what? You were what? I was very tired from chopping apart two adult bodies, but I didn't have a problem doing it. I cut off their arms, legs, and heads, dividing each body into 6 pieces. I heard before that blades get easily ruined by fat when you cut apart a corpse, so I brought many kinds of tools. And I was right. I didn't have to go back and forth between here and my house to get another tool in the middle of work. A long time ago, the construction manager was murdered and his body was dismembered here during the dam conflict. He was cut into 6 pieces in the same way. Well, I had 2 bodies, so there was double that, though. I remember the main suspect was still on the loose, and the victim's arm he hid hadn't been found yet. I wonder where he hid it. I'd like to ask him. I smiled wryly. Unlike the arms, legs, and heads, the torsos were difficult to take care of. I thought about cutting them into smaller pieces, but I decided against it because I thought it'd be troublesome to clean up the guts. I put Fair enough, I guess. This is so disturbing that she's just casually like chopping them into pieces. How am I transporting them? I mean, I could go into smaller pieces here, but like, then I gotta clean up the guts. That would kind of suck. That's like, this is disturbing. I put each piece in a black trash bag and sprayed on a lot of deodorant. I wasn't sure if that would help against the smell, though. Many bugs flew around me while I was dismembering the corpses. After I finished putting all the pieces into each bag, the bugs were still flying around, but that was just because they could smell the blood. After I cleaned up everything, they were all gone. Now all I need to do is to get rid of these 12 black bags. Burning them would be easiest, but I don't think I can burn them to ashes without using a cremator. The best way is to bury them somewhere. Other than the torsos, every piece is small enough to fit in my backpack. I could easily carry them without being noticed. I could throw them into the river running through the dam construction site, but if I did that, somebody would find them for sure. I've seen on the news several times before that a bag with a body part in it was found beside a river. Every time I heard something like that, I always thought the murderer was stupid. I thought about dumping them into the Onigafuchi swamp, but rotten meat floats. I thought about weighing the bags, but there's no guarantee they'd stay down. So they left me one choice, to bury them. There are many unexplored mountains at the end of the abandoned districts around Yuguchi and Taketsudo. It's probably best to bury them somewhere in the mountains. While it would be safe to bury them here in the garbage dump too, it's not perfectly safe. And so, I'm going to bury all these bags somewhere deep inside of a mountain in order to completely erase the 2 of them. My joints hurt since I've been using muscles I don't normally use. Yeah, I mean, literally the whole day too. I cleaned up the mess very carefully and got into my hideout. While still wearing the sweatsuit, I laid down on the mattress. I washed my hands carefully, but there was still dirt and blood under my nails. I should take a shower later and wash it off completely. When I say things like disposing of corpses, it sounds like I'm the greatest evil of the century. But that's only true if I get caught. Hey, you got a point. Right? No one will know. You know, you can still be something and people not know, to be fair, but what I did isn't a crime as long as I don't get caught. Plus, I didn't do this because I wanted to commit a crime. I didn't do anything wrong. I did this to protect my father's life and mine. Now, I will say, I think you were 100% justified in killing Rena, right? She was trying to choke the life out of you, right? It would be kind of hard to prove that in court. I was about to say in corpse. In court. But I think ultimately that is a winnable case. Tepe, though, that was like premeditated. Like, that one was Look, you can argue this guy's a gangster. He might lose his cool, right? Maybe you were genuinely in fear for your life. I don't know. I don't know the laws in Japan. I don't know if that's like something you could get away with. If you're like genuinely in fear for your life, this guy is like, you think this guy is going to kill you, right? Like if you're allowed to just kill them, right? Like, probably not, right? If it's premeditated like that, right? At the end of the day, premeditated is premeditated, you know? I feel like usually you can't get away with premeditated murder. I don't really know the laws of it, but either way, right? I mean, like, this isn't completely untrue, right? From her, like, perspective, like, ideologically, she certainly protected her father's life. She also literally protected her own life, right? But, yeah, point is, like, this is a bit of a stretch, right? A bit of a stretch to say I didn't do anything wrong, right? I did this to protect my father's life and mine. People might speak ill of me, but I don't care about them. In the end, I don't think anybody can really pass judgment on my sins. Sins aren't something to pass judgment on. They're something to confess and to atone for. In other words, nobody can measure the weight of a sin other than the person who committed the crime. So is that why this is called the Atonement chapter? Do I regret what I did? Do I feel sorry? No. I don't think I did anything wrong. I truly believe there's no better way than killing them. I'm sure it was the right thing, because my life had already started to change since the night I killed them. A few days earlier, I just came home after killing Teppei. My father was cleaning the room Teppei had thrashed earlier. His eyes were swollen. He'd been crying.
レーナ、どこへ行ってたんだ？
あの男と話をしてきた。もうリナさんは二度とこの家に来ない。だからあなたも来ないでって言った。だから、あいつはもう来ないよ。
そんなのでおとなしくしてくれるやつじゃないぞ、きっと。
He probably wouldn't have.
レイナもしばらくは用心した方がいい。
That won't be necessary. It's hard to explain to him why Teppei would never come back. I can't tell him he shouldn't worry because I killed him. I grabbed ice cubes from the freezer, put them in a plastic bag, and handed it to my father.
お父さん、ほっぺた、すごい腫れてるよ。
He must have only noticed it just then.
ああ、ありがとう。
私が片付けるからいいよ。掃除機持ってくるね。
レイナ。
He called out to me.
お父さんが悪かった。ごめんな。
仕方ないよ。あいつらは騙すのがなりわいだもん。だから、お父さんは騙されただけだよ。
レイナは、あいつらがそういう連中だって知ってたのか？
うん。最近だけどね。言っても信じてくれないと思って、言わなかった。ごめんね。
He looked down. When he told me about how he wanted to get remarried, I told him that they were bad people and that they scammed others with badger games. But he didn't listen to me. So I was right in saying that he wouldn't have believed me at all.
お父さんは母さんとの離婚で落ち込んでいるところをつけ入られたんだよ。
Like as a father, that's gotta hurt, knowing that your child knew that you wouldn't believe them. And being right, of course, like that makes it even worse. Like they're right. You didn't believe them.
お父さんは本当にダメなお父さんだよな。
Then he started talking about how he met Rina, as if trying to absolve his guilt. It was when he was suffering the most, and he needed to drink away his sorrow. At a bar he happened to go into, Rina-san was the one who came to his table. It was her job to be a good listener when her customers talked. Rina must really have been a great listener, and offered words of comfort when he talked about the divorce. If he was emotionally stable, he could have taken it as a kindness that she was only offering at the time. But he was so desperate that he took it the wrong way. After that, the tragedy was inevitable. He wanted to believe that it was destiny, and he glamorized everything about her. It would be easy to laugh at him and say that he was just dreaming. I don't blame him, because being weak is also being part of being human. Yeah, honestly, like, I've never really stopped. Like, I mean, it's obvious that the story of her father is pretty sad, but, like, as we keep seeing it, like, now that I'm really thinking about it, I'm like, this dude's gotten a rough hand, huh? The son divorced because he was being cheated on into thinking he finally found someone and was going to recover, and then learned that it was, like, it was all just a scheme to take his money. And that his daughter didn't trust him to listen to her. That can't help. Ro's been going through it. He had plenty of opportunities to grow suspicious of her questionable spending habits. but my father just read even that behavior as an attempt to cheer him up. He bought everything she asked him to, and Rena landed her catch. He shouldn't have brought his lover to the house where his daughter lived. But he was crazy about her, and he didn't even think about it.
お父さんはお父さんであることを忘れちゃってたんだ。本当にどうかしてた。
He started crying. I held his shoulders gently. I feel like the last time we saw this, we got smacked. I hope we're not about to get a repeat of that.
いいよ。お父さんがそれに気づいてくれたなら、お父さんはお父さんなんだよ。私には一人しかいない。最後の肉親なんだから。
He couldn't stop moaning. We held each other and cried together. Well, they didn't say anything about her getting smacked, so I assume it's fine. The next day, my father got up early in the morning. He was already cooking breakfast when I got up, and he told me,
お父さんは今日からしっかりするからな。
wow, maybe all of that happening to him might have been like a good thing for him in a way, like in the end. Might have woken him up. We'll see, of course.
でもお父さん、目玉焼きを焼く前にサラダオイルは敷いた方がいいと思うかな。
久しぶりの台所なんで。
Hey, you gotta respect the effort, though. He pried off the burning eggs on the pan with a spatula and he added salad oil to it. It was too late. Doing that just made it an even bigger mess, but I didn't say anything because I wanted to eat his eggs. I waited at the table quietly. He put the burned eggs on a plate and brought them over to me. It looked like he tried to salvage them by adding cheese, but it didn't really work. Still, it smelled good and crispy, and actually stimulated my appetite. Thick cut toast popped out of the toaster. I made coffee with extra milk and sugar because my father liked it sweet. We put everything on the table. It looked terrible, like the cooking class of an elementary school, but to me, it was precious, because my father tried very hard to make it, wearing the apron. Yeah, I mean, that was a situation where it's kind of the effort that counts, right? Like, sounds like this isn't something he's got up and done in a while.
匂いだけなら美味しそうだよ。あとは味だね。
Wouldn't that be nice?
やっぱり食事はレイナがやった方がいいかもな。これじゃかえって悪い気がする。
お父さんが仕事で忙しくなったら、また私が代わるよ。
She said, "You unemployed bum." It had been a taboo to talk about work in our house. He hadn't worked since the divorce. It wasn't only because of the divorce, though. He just didn't have to work because the settlement my mother gave him was so huge. Plus, I let him be lazy because I felt guilty about the divorce. But my father cleared his wrongdoing by showing repentance to me. And I also atoned for my sin of not doing anything about my mother by doing what I did the previous night. Now we are free of sin. I wonder if this is going to cause a rift.
お父さん、仕事を探してみるよ。
Doesn't seem like it. That's good.
今日は食案に行ってこようと思う。
それはいいね。
It's not money that he wanted. He just needed a normal lifestyle.
こんな年で体力もないからな。いい仕事があるか不安だよ。
どんな仕事ならいいの？
事務の仕事がいいけど、この年じゃなかなか雇ってもらえないだろうな。
私の友達に聞いてみるよ。みーちゃんはこの辺りの大地主のお嬢さんだから、ひょっとすると紹介してくれるかもしれないよ。
Of a big landowner, by the way. Not of several of them.
いいよいいよ、仕事くらい自分で探すよ。その程度にはしっかりしないとな。
I don't think there's anything wrong, like, as a man, I don't think there's anything wrong with using your connections, right? I'm just saying. That's my personal view on things. But if he wants to do it himself, fair enough, I guess. I don't remember the last time we enjoyed breakfast like this. I don't even remember the last time we had breakfast together. For the first time in a long time, the morning light felt refreshing. I wanted to keep enjoying life like this, but unfortunately I had to go to school. I told him that I'd skip school that day and that I wanted him to take me somewhere fun, but he tried to be a good father and said that I had to go to school.
じゃあ、私、学校行くね。
Maybe over the weekend.
ああ、行ってらっしゃい。
He followed me to the front door. I was a bit embarrassed for some reason. He talked to me while I was tying my shoes. He followed me here not because he wanted to see me off, but because he wanted to tell me something.
お父さんは母さんとの離婚の後、ずっと寂しかった。でもお父さんはレイナと一緒だから寂しくなんかないんだ。そうだ、最初から寂しがることなんか何もなかったんだ。
It's kind of sweet.
お父さん、それを家族って言うんじゃないかな。
We've still got each other. Oh, hopefully.
そうだな。そんなことを娘に教わるようじゃダメだな。
じゃあ、ケイチ君を待たせてるから、もう行くね。
いってらっしゃい。ああ、そうだ、レイナ。今日はお父さんが夕食を作るぞ。
Oh, it's so over.
食案に行くついでに買い物をしてくる。
Oh, it's double over.
朝食みたいな失敗はしないから、楽しみにしてるんだぞ。
Doing the shopping and the cooking? Oh, brother, you are coming home to some slop.
楽しみにしてるよ。行ってきます。
I left the house. My father saw me off, still in the apron. It was the first step of our new life. I finally regained it. I finally regained everything we lost after we left Hinamizawa. My mother wasn't around, but I didn't feel sad because I had my father. The cries of the cicadas sounded as if they were celebrating my new life. The sunshine was bright and the wind was sending up a nice breeze. The only thing that wasn't nice was the ticking clock. I was late because I spent too much time talking with my father. Keiichi-kun might already be gone. I don't think he'd be waiting for me that long. Wrong. Okay, so this is like a flashback. This is like... Whoops, I actually did not mean to click that. There's just something on my mouse. This is... we are in a flashback, right? I don't know if we can even see from here. No, we can't, but... I think this is the day after Teppei was killed, right? Which means we kind of started this chapter either after school today or within a few days of now. But, not a huge deal. We might get to kind of see the day Rena was, sleeping all day. That was that day. Honestly, apparently I don't really know. So we're just going to kind of roll with it. Keiji-kun might already be gone. I don't think he'd be waiting for me that long. But he was there anyway.
Ohayo!
I don't know. We might have just flashed forward when we got to this morning, now that I think about it. So we might actually be, like, present day. So if it's not, I'll figure it out when we get there.
遅れてごめんね。ごめんね。
いいってことよ。普段は俺がレナを待たせてるんだからな。たまには俺を待たさせろ。
ずいぶん遅くなっちゃったね。早足で行った方がいいかな。
そうだな。チャキチャキ行こうぜ。さもないと走る羽目になりそうだ。
みーちゃん、さすがに先に行っちゃってるかな。
Possibly.
待ってるだろう、絶対。
I'm definitely with Keiichi on this. I think she's waiting.
俺たちは仲間だぜ。絶対に見捨てないし、勝手に行っちゃったりはしないよ。それはそうと、今日は朝からいいことでもあったのか？
どうしてかな？
いやさ、今朝のレナは普段にも増して上機嫌そうだったからさ、特別なことでもあったのかなって。
The good mood I was in must have been too obvious for Keiichi-kun to ignore. I had not only my family, but my friends too. I felt something warm spreading in my heart.
それがね、聞いて。朝食をお父さんが作ってくれたんだけどね。それがね。
This is one of those things where it's kind of hard to explain why it was such a good morning without giving a lot of background context that I don't think she's going to give. But, hopefully he kind of gets the vibe.
なんだよ。目玉焼きはそれで正しいだろ？サラダオイルってのはサラダに使うもんなんだろ？
He never had a chance.
みーちゃんたちに教えてあげようっと。
So over for him. He don't know nothing.
なんですって？それは許しがたい暴言でございましてよ。
おう、上等だぜ。そこまで言うからには直接対決も辞さない覚悟だろうな。
おお、盛り上がってるじゃない。
Sounds like they are beefing.
なんなら今日の部活さ、さとことけいちゃんで外馬行こうか。
みーちゃん、外馬って何かな？
I feel like it's a little self-explanatory. It's a bet that's like outside the scope of the club itself, right? It's not like, the punishment game.
ああ、外馬ってのはよ。つまり、俺とさとこだけで賭けをするってことさ。部活の順位がそのまま勝敗になって、負けた方は俺たちだけのペナルティを課す。
つまり、 どっちが勝っても負けても僕はとっても楽しいのです。
Rika's preying on your guys' downfall. That's kind of insane.
どうするさとこ。
But that is very much like Rika. Also would be like Mio, to suggest it.
素敵な勝負でございますことよ。
Good luck, Keiichi.
部活にビリで罰ゲームな上にさらに私に負けてダブルで罰ゲームなんて、こんな素敵なことがございまして。
よーしさとこ、よく受けたね。よっしゃ、今日の部活は2人の外馬付きでやろう。
部活の種目より罰ゲームを何にするか考える方が楽しいのですよ。
I feel like that's half of the actual fun to you guys.
確かに楽しいよな。サトコがどんな悲惨な目に遭うか今から想像できちまうぜ。
Buddy, I've got news for you.
それはケイチさんのことでございましてよ。ブニーやりましたわね。ブニ
They're
ほ
boxing.
らほら、2人とも勝負はまだ始まってないって。
I'm about to say they're about to have their chance to compete. Y'all gotta chill. Chie-sensei opened the door and came in.
皆さんお待たせしました。それでは帰りのホームルームを始めますよ。
Everybody headed to their seats.
みーちゃん、
何？
ケイチくんとさとこちゃんがとても盛り上がっているところで申し訳ないんだけど、ごめんね。ちょっと今日も用事があってすぐ帰らないといけないの。
Oh, right. She got some bodies to chop. Not to chop. To hide.
そうなの？もう用事じゃ仕方ないな。お家の仕事？
うん。
家事ってんじゃおじさんは口出しできないな。
Yeah, something like that. Not quite housework, but close enough.
うちはお手伝いさんに全部任せっきりだからね。
Must be nice.
たまにはみーちゃんも家事手伝いとかすればいいのに。きっと花嫁修行になるよ。
ご安心を。万事その手のスキルに関してはつつがなく習得済みですので。
Michan looks like the kind of girl who tries to stay away from chores as much as possible, but she can actually do everything. That's just who she is. She went through hard times to learn those things, but she acts like she learned them without any struggle. That's also who she is. Yeah. I don't know. Knowing Mion's character is always easy to be doubtful. I'm like, bro, be for real. But I don't know. You think back to chapter 2 and it's clear she has the ability to kind of do things like that and act that way. She just doesn't, you know? That's also who she is. I like that about her.
帰っちゃうのかよ。
ケイチさんが恥ずかしい格好で職員室にお伺いしなくちゃならないところをご覧になりませんの？見物なのに残念なのです。うん、ごめんね。
昨日も家の用事だったじゃねえかよ。何かあったのか？
うん、ちょっとね、もう何日かかかるかもしれない。
じゃあ当分レナは部活に参加できないかな。
I mean, I can't help but feel like one of these days I'm gonna be like, you are not still doing housework. Be for real, right? And maybe they run into her at the junkyard and it's like, what are you doing here with trash bags?
かもしれない。なるべく早く復帰できるように頑張る。
その用事は俺たちには手伝えることか？
Nope.
例えば古い家具を運び出すとか、そういう力仕事なら言ってくれ。応援に行くぜ。
家の模様替えとかかい？おじさんたちみんなで手伝うよ。
I don't think she's gonna let you guys help with this one.
レナさんの家のお手伝いで優劣起きそうのもありですわよね。
No. Negative.
多分お手伝いしない方が優勝なのです。みんなありがとう。気持ちだけもらっておくね。
じゃあ仕方ない。竜宮レナを本日付で我が部より戦線離脱とする。お家の仕事が片付くまで休暇とするので、英気回復の上再び戦線へ復帰することをここに命ずる。まあ4人なら4人で遊べるゲームもあるしね。
At least they all seem understanding.
そうだそうだ、ケイちゃんは麻雀とかできる？
There is no way bro knows how to play mahjong.
おう、任せろ。親父の仕事関係の人たちの宅に無理やり混ぜられることもある。
Never mind. That's a little interesting. I don't want to overanalyze this line. I really don't. But I can't help but think about the fact that there is one group of people we know play mahjong, right? Like, and I kind of wonder if that's relevant. Like, does the Maibara family have connections to the police? I don't know. I'm not, or criminal activity, really. I don't know. I really don't think this line is saying too much, but I really do think, like, it's kind of been hinted at that the Maibara family is more important than it seems, right? So I wonder if this is an accidental, or not an accidental, like a subtle hint towards that. I don't know. I'm gonna keep moving, but it's just something I was kind of thinking about.
もちろん私たちは麻雀だって精通していましたよ。
After that, they fooled around and made a lot of noise, just like they always did. I looked at them and reminded myself that I'd always have a place to return to. I left the classroom with a smile. I was going to Higuchi on my bicycle. I had to find a place to bury the bags with the body parts. Hopefully, I could finish burying all of them today before it gets dark. With that, everything would be over and done with.
パイの背中が竹だってのがなんだか怖いよな。まさかガンパイってことはないだろうな。
さーて、どうでございましょうね。
That sounds like the exact type of thing they would do.
圭一さんには以前の時事抜きの時に手痛い思い出がございますものね。
Yeah, so that's an obvious reference to the game of what... oh lord, what was it? Was it Old Maid? Is that what it was? I don't know. No. I think it was like... I don't know. I remember the basic rules of the card game, actually, but I don't remember the name of it. But there, it had a marked deck, and that was in Chapter 1, I believe, which is interesting, because now we're, like, drawing more connections towards Chapter 1, And not that I'm saying that this means we are in Chapter 1, just kind of interesting. We're getting potential references from all over.
まあ多少は傷もあるだろうね。安物のパイだしさ。そのくらいの要素がないと我が部らしくないでしょ。ヒヒヒヒヒ。
みー、赤は何枚混ぜるのですか？ 6 つ？
Rika-chan sounded professional, and it scared me. Oh well, I should start by checking the tiles. Playing mahjong with my family is different from playing it as a club activity. I have to be cautious. It's possible that one tile is missing, or that there's one extra of a particular tile in here.
そんなことしないって。
Yes, you do. Be for real.
でも着想は面白いね。そういう手もあるか。なるほどなるほど。
That's
よし
totally
よし、
something you would
パイ
do.
をみんな表にして並べてみよう。ほれほれほれ。
Everybody flipped the tiles face up.
あれ、おい、誰かのとこにチュンが1個隠れてないか？
ピンズとソーズの6が1個ずつ足りないですわね。あら？マンズの6も1個足りませんでしたよ。
なんだ随分と足りないじゃないか。
ああ、そうだった。ちょいと待って。
Mion hit the palm of her hand with her fist, moved her chair aside, and stuck her finger into a gap in the floorboards. She then pulled a tile out of there. What?
はいよ。まずはチュンね。
Just in the floorboards?
あとの3つはどこだったっけな。
おい待てミオン、どうして麻雀のパイが教室のあちこちに隠してあるんだよ。
にゃはははは。
We do a little bit of cheating.
まあまあ。
Yeah, we wouldn't do that. She must have hidden the other 3 tiles somewhere in the classroom and forgot where. We couldn't play mahjong with 3 tiles missing. I suggested playing another game, but Mion insisted that we had to find them and suggested making that treasure hunt our game. Ooh, oh no.
まあ、確かに圭一さんと勝負をつけるなら種目は何でもいいわけでございますけど。
Is this somehow going to turn into them running into Rena?
もうちょっとまともな種目がいいですわね。
同感だな。それにこの教室に本当にあるかも怪しいんだろ。
多分あると思うんだよ。あるいはおじさんが懐にしまったまま帰っちゃって洗濯機の脇に置いてあるとかかな。
今度からミーと麻雀をやるときは終わった後にも牌の数を調べた方がいいと思いますです。
That sounds like a wise plan to me. Everybody except Mio nodded in agreement.
なによ、教室宝探し対決じゃ不満？
つーかミオンのイカ様の後始末だろ。
True.
お前の責任でやれ。部活を私的に使うな。
ブーブー。じゃあどうする？麻雀は無理だしね。他のにする？である人。
As our club president, Mion usually decides what we'll play. I couldn't just come up with something on the spot. But we were all thinking, Mion hit her palm with her fist just like she did earlier. Does she have to go?
じゃあさみんな、
No, she got an idea.
タイの宝探しが嫌ならさ、もうちょっとでっかく宝探しをしようじゃない？宝探しといえばレナのお家芸。
Oh, no. Ah, no. Yep, they're gonna run into Rena today. Suspiciously, human-shaped body parts in bags. Suspiciously human-shaped, bags with body parts in them. But just ignore those guys.
ってことはダム現場のゴミ山か。
あそこってあんまり行ったことないんですけど、結構広いですわよね。
Such an unfortunate coincidence.
あそこはバラバラ殺人の幽霊が出るから近寄らない方がいいらしいのですよ。
Guys, please listen to Rika.
幽霊上等じゃないの。そのくらいの演出つかないと宝の山としてはインパクト弱いよね。
They're not gonna listen to Rika.
へえ、そんな噂あるのかよ。確かバラバラ殺人があって主犯が未だ逃走中。そいつの隠した腕一本が未だ見つからないとか言うんだろ。
その腕を探してバラバラにされた監督さんが幽霊になってさまよっているという噂があるのです。あらあらリカ、幽霊が嫌いなんですの？いいお年にもなって恥ずかしいですわね。
So we're poking fun at Rika. That's a little messed up.
僕は巫女ですから見たくなくても見えてしまうのですよ。
What?
うわ、なんだよそれ。霊感ってやつか？確かに見える人には当たり前のように幽霊が見えるって話
Could you
聞いたこと
imagine?
あるな。
What if that's actually true, though?
バカバカしいですわね。リカと一緒にずっと住んでますけど、そんなの一度も見たことありませんでしたよ。さとこに見えてないだけなのですよ。
But I can.
さとこがお布団で寝てるときはいつもニパー。
Yo, she's trying to scare her.
リカ、そこで笑ってはぐらかさないでくださいませ。私が寝てるときは何なんですの？
Satoko, I feel sorry for you. You can pretend you're not scared of ghosts during the day, but I'm pretty sure you get scared when it gets dark. I'm gonna have to make a silent phone call tonight just to scare the hell out of her. That's evil. You are evil.
まあ私も含めてなんだけど、ダム戦争の後に好き好んであそこに出入りする人はいないんじゃないかね。
So then why suggest going?
レナくらいだよ、楽しそうにあそこで遊んでるのは。
レナのカーイーモードの前に幽霊が出た日にゃ彼岸の向こうからでもお持ち帰りされかねんな。
Wouldn't that be a sight?
確かにありそうですわね。はう、お持ち帰りって。
That's a good impression. It was so easy to imagine that all of us laughed.
じゃあ決まり。今日はゴミ山探検にしよう。
Why has this happened? Just such an unfortunate series of events.
幽霊を見つけられたら優勝。
Doesn't that mean Rika wins by default?
辞典は隠された右腕。その次はじゃあレナが気に入りそうな何かだね。レナに見せて白黒をつけてもらうってことでどうよ。
I feel like we're coming up on the junkyard scene.
私は優勝でケイチさんはビリでダブル罰ゲームが楽しみですわね。
Maybe not this sub-chapter, but I think it's coming soon.
おいおいサトコいいのかよ。優勝ってことは幽霊。
Poking fun at her a little bit.
ちょっとやめてくださいませ。暑苦しいですわ。僕もお化けが怖いので行きたくないのです。も
Please listen to Rika.
っとは何ですの？ もとは
I don't know, Satoko.
私は全然怖くなんかありませんわよ。ゲイチさん、お話遊ばせ。
では行くよ諸君、出撃準
Oh, Mio, no, let it go. No, they all are in agreement. Never mind. Oh, what an unfortunate decision. And it'll be over with. Everything will be over and done with. Yes, it will be over when the Higurashi cry. Oh, man. Why? It's so unfortunate for Rena. Because I'm assuming she doesn't have all of them with her, you know? Didn't seem like they would all fit at once.
これで全部かな。
Okay, so we are... No, I was wrong. It is this subchapter. Rena finished making her confession. There was no applause or curtain call. It was a quiet and lonely stage that Rena performed on alone. I think I'd forgotten to blink since her confession started. Everybody else seemed to be feeling the same way. Rena looked at us, like she was a teacher waiting for questions from her students. We noticed that she was imitating what Chie-sensei does at the end of class, and we all smiled bitterly.
さっきまでね、野号地の方に行ってたの。袋を埋める場所を探しに。絶対見つからない場所に隠そうと思うと、なかなかいい場所が見つからないの。自分の家の庭に埋める方が、むしろ安心じゃないかな、なんて考えたりもしたっけ。
That makes the murder pretty obvious.
でも、それじゃあやっぱり危ないよね。お父さんが突然、家庭菜園をやりたいなんて言い出すかもしれないもん。やっぱり、遠くの山奥がいい。あの女を、たとえ死んだ後でも、お父さんに近づけたくなかったし。
I felt like I did something very bad, and his plan was going smoothly. If I'd only hunted for the mahjong tiles instead of insisting on doing something else, this wouldn't have happened. When I looked at the others, they all seemed to be regretting their actions, too. If Mion hadn't come up with the idea to play at the garbage dump, if Satoko hadn't found the broken refrigerator, if Rika-chan had convinced us not to go, Rena could have had a few more days, and she could have gotten rid of these trash bags. They never would have been found. Then what would have happened next? Nothing. Everything would have remained the same. We could have kept having happy and peaceful days. Rena had been through a hard time, but she'd been forcing her face into a smile for us. The fake smile was supposed to become a real smile one day. None of us were supposed to notice that Rena was going through a hard time. After a while, Rena was supposed to be able to forget the bitter memory of killing these two, and she was supposed to live as if nothing had happened. But now, all of her effort, all her courage, have been ruined.
人殺しはいけないことだってことは、私だって知ってるよ。したくなんかなかったし、これからだってしたくないと思ってる。でもね、これが最善の努力だったって信じてるし、私は悪いことをしたなんて、これっぽっちも思ってない。
It's one of those things where even if that's true, even if that's true, right? It's hard to see someone the same way again.
私は幸せで平穏な生活を取り戻すために神様から与えられた等しいチャンスの中で最大限に努力しただけ。製品であれば不幸せでもいいなんてのは満たされた人間の綺麗事だよ。その精一杯は世界中の誰にだってけなせない。
I do get where you're coming from, for sure.
むしろ私を褒めてほしいくらい、称えてほしいくらい。竜宮レナは自らの運命と戦った。そして打ち勝った。
I don't know why I did it, but I interrupted her. That's a bold move. I shouldn't have, but I thought I needed to tell her this, so I did.
でもレナ、どうして俺たちに相談してくれなかったんだよ。
相談？
そうだよ。俺たちは仲間だろ。仲間ってのは何があっても無条件で味方になってくれる家族同然の存在じゃないのかよ。
And she hid it from them. Is that like kind of hurting Keiichi?
俺たちに相談してくれれば何かの力になれたかもしれない。
I don't think we've heard this song before. I like the start of it.
そうすればレナは自分の手を汚さずに済んだかもしれない。
What Rena told us made me sad. I couldn't help myself from saying that to her. Rena told us straight that she did the best she could. She told us that right to our faces. It's the same thing as saying that she didn't need us in order to do the best she could.
ケイちゃん、今はそんなこと言っても。
いや頼む。喜びだって苦しみだって分け合うのが俺は仲間だって思ってる。
I mean, he's kind of spitting. If you ignore the subject matter, he's certainly onto something here.
だからレナが相談してくれたらきっと今よりもより良い未来へたどり着けていたと信じてる。
Thing is, I don't think she really has any regrets. Like, I don't know.
今よりより良い未来？そんなのないよ。これが最善の未来だよ。
嘘だな。
Role reversal? That's kind of funny. My shot seemed to scare her a little. I knew that Rena didn't believe that this was the best possible future. She just didn't have any other choice. If she'd had other choices, she definitely wouldn't have chosen this one.
だってその証拠にレナはさっきから泣いてるじゃないか。
はあ？誰が？私が？いつ涙を流したの？
今だよ。ずっと流してるじゃないか。自分で分かってないのか？
In fact, I didn't see any tears in her eyes or on her face at all. But that didn't mean she wasn't crying. Rena was crying. She was crying because she was driven into a corner after all the hard work she did to become happy. Her tears looked so sad. Anyone who couldn't see those tears wasn't really thinking about her.
私は泣かないよ。誰が泣くものか。私は正しいことをした。最善の選択をした。
I mean, yeah, this is... I don't think it's unfair to say this has changed Rena. Right? Like...
それでどうして泣かなくちゃならないの？ケイチのバカバカ。何を言ってるか全然わかんないや。
それが泣いてるって言ってんだよ。
Rena stopped laughing all of a sudden and she spoke with a cold expression on her face.
じゃあいいよ。ケイチくんの言った通りにしたとしてみよう。私がみんなにお父さんとあの女のことを打ち明けた。さあ、どうしてくれるの？
まずは
まずは何？ん？
Rena had never talked to me like this before. It was as if she was mocking my ignorance, and that made me shut my mouth.
ケイチくんは去年を知らないんだよ。
去年？
そう、去年。昭和57年6月。
Are they about to imply that Rena helped him cover it up or something?
私と同じように人を殺めることでしか抜けられない不幸の迷宮に閉じ込められた人のお話を。
Like, I kind of wonder if that's where they're going with this, but either way, we're obviously talking about Satoshi here. Satoko gasped.
ケイチくんはあまり知らないよね。北条サトシくんのことは。
Okay, we're gonna get some more info about him. I know that he's Satoko's older brother. He's been missing, but people say he transferred. There's a rumor that he killed his aunt for Satoko's sake. Therefore, it's been taboo to talk about Satoshi in my class. Actually, in all of Hinamizawa.
サトシくんもね、私と同じだった。ただ幸せで平穏な日々が欲しかっただけ。妹と静かに暮らせる生活が欲しかっただけ。ケイチくんも去年殺されたサトコちゃんのおばさんがどういう人だったかは噂聞いてるよね。
It's probably reached Keiichi's ears by now. If what I've heard is true, this is what happened. After Satoko lost her parents, her uncle and aunt got custody of her and her brother, but they were miserable people. Her aunt was especially cruel to Satoko. Satoshi was the kind of guy who wouldn't... Satoshi was the kind of guy who wouldn't even hurt a fly. But his aunt probably was the only one whom he didn't have a problem killing. That's how terrible a person she was.
北条家のトラブルはね、南沢では誰もが知っていたんだよ。おばさんがヒステリックで頭のネジのどうかしてることも、サトシ君とサトコちゃんを意味もなくいじめていたことも全部。
No one did anything.
全部ね。もちろんクラスの誰もが知っていた。御三家の当主後継ぎであるみーちゃんとリカちゃんだってもちろん知ってたし、サトコちゃんに至っては当事者だもんね。
And no one did anything. And I'm guessing that's where she's going with this. No one did anything, so why would you guys have been able to do something this time?
圭一君の言う仲間たちはひなみ沢の誰よりもよくサトシ君の辛さを分かっていたはずなんだよ。
Does she really even see them the same way? Does she see them the same way everybody else sees the group?
それで結果はどうだった？
Because it kind of does not sound like
誰か
it.
がサトシ君を助けてくれた？誰も助けなかった。みーちゃんは一番力があるくせに村のしがらみがどうとかよくわからない理由で煙に巻いて、結局無責任な同情の言葉をかけて傷つけるだけだった。そんなことはないよ。嘘だ。サトシ君は分かってたよ。みーちゃんが口ぶりだけは同情してるふりをしながらも全然助ける気がないことを分かってた。だからサトシ君はね、途中からみーちゃんのことを嫌うようになったんだよ。
Look, at the end of the day, unless Mion did some crazy stuff behind the scene to help Satoshi that we don't know about, this is kind of fact. I will say that.
普段は仲間だとか友達だとか言っておきながら、結局は北条家をいじめる園崎家の一味でしかなかったってね。
Dang.
私は別に何も救わずに放置した。
It's just call out hour now.
サトシ君の助けてほしい思いを同情という言葉で拒絶したんだ。それがどれほどサトシ君を傷つけたか分かってる？
Mion tried to find something to say, but failed to do so. She bit her lip instead.
それはリカちゃんも同じだよね。
Now Rena was pointing fingers at Rika-chan. Unlike Mion, Rika-chan looked emotionless and empty, just like Rena did.
リカちゃんは確かにみーちゃんに比べたらその発言力は微々たるものかもしれない。でも神社に出入りしてるお年寄りたちにとても大きな発言力を持っていたはずだよ。リカちゃんにもできる努力があったのにしなかった。リカちゃんも結局はみーちゃんと同じ。
I wonder if we're ever gonna see Rika snap, like at the group. I'm not saying that's what's about to happen, but I'm actually just kind of considering that possibility now.
哀れみの表情を浮かべて小娘を装っただけだった。するのはサトシ君やサトコちゃんを慰めるだけ。その根本原因に対して何の手も差し伸べようとしなかった。そんな無慈悲な哀れみがどれほど残酷だったか想像できる？サトシ君が欲しかったのは救いだった。誰かに助けて欲しかった。自分の力だけではどうしても抜け出せない苦境だったから。首まで沈もうとする沼の中で精一杯手を伸ばして誰かに掴んでもらうことを期待していたんだよ。
Jeez. I bet Keiichi wish he'd kept his mouth shut.
そうね。
Dang. To just say you're right is a little crazy. Rika-chan's voice sounded mature. It was very different from how she usually sounded.
サトシたちを救う方法がわからなかったから慰めることしかしなかった。それにかまけ救う何かを探し続けなかった罪は否定しないわ。
We are seeing the other side of Rika. That is interesting.
わかってるじゃない。
Rena gave her a twisted smile. That ugliness caused me to look away.
そしてサトコちゃん、あなたに信じられるかわからないけれど、あなたの罪はとても重い。
Satoko knows that. I didn't understand why she was blaming Satoko. I tried to take her side, but I gasped in surprise when I looked at her. She looked like she was accepting the sin that Rena had mentioned. Satoko must have wanted to confess her sin before Rena pointed it out to her. And so Satoko opened her mouth first.
信じてくださるかどうかはわかりませんけど、ちゃんと気づいてますのよ。その罪。そうなんだ。ニーニーがいなくなってしまったあの夜に気づきましたのよ。それをどうしてニーニーがいるうちに気づけなかったのか。わかるよ、その気持ち。後悔した時にはもう遅いというのは私も同じだったから。だから私は同じことがもう一度起こったから今度は戦った。さとこちゃんのその罪はきっと将来あがなえるよ。その罪に気づけたならきっとね。
It's just call out hour today.
それでも、もう、ニーニーは帰ってきませんのね。
That's true. You're gonna have to ask Rika for help with that, I guess. Satoko looked down sadly. Usually Satoko would say the opposite. She always said that Sachi was coming back one day without a doubt. But now, she accepted the fact that he would never return. Goodness, we're just... I mean, I keep saying this. It's just crazy how one kind of like one or two, a few sentences from Keiichi about like we would have helped, and it's like Rena kind of brings up that she already knew this wasn't true, right? Like she knew they weren't reliable in that way, right? Just like, ouch. Everyone's getting called out for 1982. Well, except Keiichi wasn't there, but now she accepted the fact that he would never return. She accepted it easily, as if she knew it already. Because he's her brother.
Ne?
She asked me all of a sudden,
これが私と同じ苦境にいた昭和57年のみんな。
what makes you think they'd help now?
サトシ君は自分を助けてくれそうな人たちにはみんなに全てを話したよ。助けてほしいと言ったし、辛いとも言った。打ち明けた、相談した。転校してきたばかりの私にまでね。それはみっともないことじゃない。本当に不幸な人はね、必死なんだよ。サトシ君は自分でも懸命に頑張ってた。それでもどうにもならないからみんなに助けを求めた。ずっと求めてた。
But he never received it.
でもね、これが圭一君の言う無条件で味方になってくれる仲間たちの体たらくなんだよ。
Yeah, it seems like she never held that view of friendship, right? Which is kind of sad.
仲間なんて楽しくてどうでもいい時間を一緒に寄り合って過ごすだけのお友達。本当に辛い時に味方になってなんてくれないんだよ。昔からそうだったよ。引っ越し先でもそうだったからね。
That's a...
だから私、自分がサトシ君と同じ状況になったと知った時、私は仲間に打ち明けるのなんかやめようってね。
Say that's certainly a jaded view on things, but I guess given how things went last year, I can see why she would view everyone that way, you know? Kind of hurts to know that I guess Rena didn't see the friend group, it seemed, the same way everyone else did. Dang.
だってどうせ誰も助けてくれないし助けられないものなら同情なんて気がめいるだけなんだよ。せめて学校にいる間くらい楽しく過ごした方が気が紛れていいかもしれないもの。実際みんなと楽しく過ごす学校の時間は楽しかったよ。とっても幸せだった。あの女たちとのトラブルをわずかの時間でも忘れることができて本当に良かった。サトシ君もそれに気づけていたら良かったね。そうだったなら学校での時間くらいは楽しく過ごせて、あそこまで心を追い詰めずに済んだかもしれない。どうせ自らの手でおばを殴り殺す以外に解決方法はなかったのだし。転校してきたばかりで村のこともほとんど覚えていない私には、サトシ君をどう助けてあげればいいかわからできるのは、話を聞いてあげて少しでも心を軽くしてあげるだけ。でもそれ以上に助けることができたのかもしれないし、私もその努力を怠っていたかもしれない。
This is a fantastic scene, to be clear. I just want to throw that out there.
それなのに昭和57年の私はサトシ君と仲間のつもりだったんだよね。
Fuck, man. Jesus. This is this is so hard. I don't even really know what to say. I mean, like, I might just... I think I'm just going to keep letting it go. I don't really know what to say right now, and I don't want to interrupt the pacing. God. Seeing her break down is... hard. Rena's self-derisive laughter changed into grievous sobs. Her tears gradually wore away at our relationship of trust. Nobody will help me. Friends are just people whom you have fun with. You can't trust them. The more Rena cried, the clearer we heard her voice in her heart. The way she really feels. Mio and Satoko and Rika-chan looked into the distance with sad expressions on their faces. I was the only one who could say anything back to her now. I had to tell her this, and she knew it too. She just needed to hear it from someone. I braced myself to tell her something that might hurt everybody.
よくわかったぜ、レナ。昭和57年のことはよくわかった。こいつらが白状だったってこともわかったさ。でもよ、サトコだって言ったろ。こいつらはみんな自分の罪に気がついた。後悔した。
Hey, Keiichi. Just kind of trying to turn this around.
だから今度は違うはずだ。今度は仲間の苦しみを真に理解して助けてくれるはずなんだ。
I think I mean, it's not unfair to say everyone was traumatized by Satoshi's disappearance, right? So I don't think he's wrong, right? I honestly do not think he's wrong.
去年いなかった人に言われても信憑性ないね。
ああ、そうだ。俺は去年いなかった。だから残念だぜ。去年の俺がサトシのために絶対に戦った。
嘘だ。
嘘じゃねえ。俺はひなみ沢に来てからどれだけ仲間がかけがえのないものかを知った。だからそんな仲間たちを救うためなら、俺はサトコやサトシをいじめるおばがそんなにもうぜえやつなら、サトシになんかもったいねえ。この俺が叩き殺してやった。
That's what I was about to say. He would have done it himself. We have real evidence of this, by the way.
ものの1500秒でだ。
Oh, what hell of a number you just pulled.
躊躇なんかしねえぞ。速攻だ。
This is literally all facts, by the way.
学校の倉庫あたりから金属バットの一本もちょろまかして即ぶっ殺してた。
口先だけならどうとでも言えるね。人を殺すのにどれだけの思い切りがいるかも知らないくせに。
He has killed before, just not in this timeline.
知らねえし知る必要もねえな。仲間を救う以上の義務がどこにあるってんだ。
ケイチ君は全然分かってない。人を殺すことがどれだけ汚らわしい行為で、どれだけ自らを美化しようとも決して振り払えない汚れであることを分かってない。
そうだな。確かに仲間を救うためでも直ちに人殺しってのは短絡的すぎるよな。レナの言い分に相反するようで悪いけど、悪いことに悪いことで立ち向かうってのは多分うまくいかないようにできていると思うんだ。
Bro, kinda spitting. KG's kinda on one today, I'm just saying.
仲間のためなら人殺しだって厭わないその精神だけは立派だと思う。だけどな、悪いことで得た平穏ってのは絶対に長く続いたりしないんだ。それを人は本能的に知ってるから悪いことを嫌うんじゃないかと思うんだ。
We'll learn that one the hard way in chapter 3.
何それ。ケイチ君が何を口走ってるのかよくわかんないよ。
She didn't have to tell me that. I was aware I wasn't making any sense. But, for some reason, I could easily imagine a world like that. A world in which I saved my precious friends by committing an evil act. Are we kind of subtly tying into chapter 3 here? The peace I seized by doing that evil deed didn't last long. It got worse. It ended in a way as terrible as the sin I committed. Honestly, like, significantly worse, actually. This was a memory that shouldn't exist. Okay, are we going down this route? Like, we have memories that shouldn't be? I don't know why, but I know for a fact that it happened in that world of possibility.
すまん。俺も自分で何を言ってるのか意味がわからなくなった。
For some weird reason, I couldn't prevent myself from smiling in embarrassment even in a situation like this.
でも、レナは分かってるはずだ。だから、自らの手を汚すほかなかった運命を、助けて欲しかった俺たちを嘆いてるんじゃないか。レナは殺人者になんかなりたくなかったんだ。これが最善の選択だったなんて、絶対嘘なんだ。だからさっきから、ずっと泣き続けているんじゃないか。
嘘だ嘘だ嘘だ嘘だサ
The fact that he keeps pressing this is kind of crazy. He won't let it go until she changes the way she's thinking.
嘘かどうかはお前が一番知ってるんじゃねえか。最初から後悔してるんだろ。たとえ誰にも知られることなく死体を隠せたとしたって、一生両手についた血は落とせないんだ。そんな十字架を背負って生きていく苦痛をどうやってごまかす？一つしかない。これしか方法がなかったと思い込むことだけじゃないか。それはつまり仲間に相談する価値がないって思うこと、仲間を一生否定し続けるってことだぞ。
I'm honestly like completely with Keiichi here. I think he's like really reading this situation quite well. Right? Like
レナにとって俺たちはその程度の存在だったのか。違うだろ。本当に助け合える関係なのが仲間だってことを。確かに去年の仲間たちはまだ未熟だった。だからサトシを不幸な運命から救えなかった。でも人は成長するんだ。ミスは二度と犯さないし、後悔は二度と繰り返さない。
That's exactly what led Rena to the place that it did anyways, right? Like, she didn't want to make the same mistake twice. She didn't want to let things be ruined within her own family twice, and so she decided to take action, right? It's not that crazy to assume that would go for everyone else too.
だから信じろ。俺たちは仲間だ。お前の一番の味方なんだ。
つまりそれは私も未熟だったってこと？
そうだ。仲間たちが日々成長していることを信じられなかったレナも未熟だ。だがそれを責める気はないぜ。俺たちだってレナが一人悩むのを今日まで気づけなかった。人は語り合うことでしか胸の内を明かせない。だから今日のこの場までは仕方がなかったことかもしれない。そういう意味では言いたくはないが、今日という日がレナにとって最善の選択の向こうにあったことを認めざるを得ないかもしれない。
I don't think I've ever seen Keiichi spit facts like this.
でも俺たちは今この場になってレナが去年からずっと持っていた不信感も俺たちが持っていた後悔も全部吐き出し合った。だから俺たちは今こそようやく本当の意味での仲間になれたんだよ。
本当に今更だね。いつも罪は手遅れになってから気づかされる。
I mean, that is true most of the time.
そうでもねえさ。
Yeah, it's not always true. But
例え
most
ば
of
俺
the
は
time.
仲間であるレナの今回のこの出来事を理解できる。
理解できるって？
人の命を奪うのは許されることじゃないっていう道徳的なことはもちろん理解している。
And he still seems to be willing to like forgive it or at least help with it.
でもそれを理解した上で仲間であるレナがこうするほかなかったことを理解する。だから俺はレナを汚らわしいと思わないし恐ろしいとも思わない。次に同じようなことがあったら今度はこういう結果にならないように悩み合おう。だけどすでに起こってしまったこの出来事を俺は理解する。理解ってのはつまり許すということだ。俺はレナのこの行為を否定したりしない。
He might be saying all the right things. I said that to everybody this time. I said it to all my friends.
俺はレナのやったこの出来事を受け入れる。これしかどうしようもなくて悩み抜いた上で至った最後の手段だったってことを受け。だから俺はレナに協力しようと思う。
ケイちゃん。
もちろん殺した理由が金目当てだとかそんなくだらねえのだったら警察へ叩き出してやってるぜ。
Technically, that is exactly what she did, actually, but, you know, we're gonna ignore that.
だけどな、レナはそんな気持ちでやったんじゃない。どうしても逃げられなくて悩み抜いた末に至った今日なんだ。レナの罪はそこに至るまでに俺たちに相談しなかったことを。だけどそれを俺は許す。だから今日に至ったその行為も俺は許す。
ケイチ。
だからみんなもレナも今日に至るまでそれに気づけずレナを一人で悩ませた俺を許してくれ。それが今日を招いた俺の罪だ。
圭一さん。
このヤバい袋の山を知ったのは俺たちだけだ。俺たち全員が秘密にすればそれでおしまいだ。レナは何も気にすることはない。最初の予定通りにこの袋をどこかに隠しちまおうぜ。そして全員で塩でお清めでもして一丁上がりだ。そしたら俺たちは全ての罪を許し合おう。
I can get why he feels this way, although at the end of the day, this is still a very bold thing to say. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets everyone on board, but I also wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't, to be honest, if that makes sense. I could see this going either way.
そして取り戻そうぜ。本当に平穏な日々を。これだろ。レナが本当に選びたかった未来ってやつはこっちなんだろ。最善の選択肢は。
圭一くん。
I jumped on the hood of the abandoned car Rena was standing on, and I reached for her hands.
認めろ。こっちが本当にレナが来たかった世界なんだよ。レナが本当に選びたかった選択肢なんだよ。確かにこの選択肢はレナ一人だけじゃ選べない。
I think that even through all this, he's supporting Rena is... I mean, it's obviously an insane situation, but it is kind of sweet.
レナと俺たちが互いに手を差し伸べ合ってしか選べないんだ。つまり俺だけが差し伸べても意味がないんだよ。俺だけじゃない、みんなが差し伸べる。だからレナ、お前も手を伸ばせ。それで互いに手をつかみ合って、初めてお前は本当に選びたかった選択肢の向こうの世界に行けるんだよ。
I'm like, is this gonna work? I don't know, is everyone gonna be in on this?
圭一くんの言葉は本当なら嬉しいよ。でもみんなもそうだとは限らないよ。
It doesn't really seem like it. A little hand touched mine. We got Rika. Okay. It was Rika-chan.
リカちゃん。レナは決して、あなたは決して屈しなかった。そしてこんなにも泥だらけになりながら、
Yeah, Rika of all people knows about that.
掴み取っている。
Like seriously, of all people, Rika knows about that. It's not like that's something she hasn't attempted before.
そんなあなたをどうして私は認めずにいられるのか。
Rika-chan's small hand was strong, and she spoke eloquently.
私は逃れられない不幸の迷宮に飲まれ、すべてに失望する堕落の心地よさを知っている。
Yeah, there's probably no one who knows how you feel better than Rika, actually.
だからこそ、たった一人で屈することなく戦い続け、今日を得たあなたのたくましさが理解できる。そんなあなたが身近にいることを、私も圭一と同じ、あなたの罪を許す。だからあなたも。リカちゃん。私は無力な小娘だけれど、自分も運命に屈しない。レナのように戦う。だから、私をあなたの仲間として許してもらいたい。
Rika-chan usually acts childish, but now she was like a totally different person. Okay, I was actually, I wanted to say, I wonder if anyone's gonna even mention how her entire demeanor shifted, but like, you know, she meant every word she was saying. And then another little hand reached out to hers.
サトコ。
Satoko put her hand over mine and Rika-chan's. She didn't say anything, looking down for a while. Rika-chan urged her to speak.
私もリカも両親を失って一人ぼっちですけれど、今日までそれを嘆いたことはありませんでしたよ。皆さんという仲間という家族がいたから。私はこれからも皆さんとレナさんと仲間という名の家族でありたいと思っていますのよ。家族同士だからこそ、時には全てを打ち明け合うのは当然ですわ。だから今日はいいきっかけになったと思ってますの。互いの罪を許し合う機会が恵まれたことに感謝いたしましたよ。
仲間という名の家族か。サトコにしちゃいい例えだな。
レナさんの罪を許しますわ。
Alright, there's no way Mion, like, just ignores us. That would be insane. Could you imagine if Mion was like, no, I'm out. Goodbye.
どうか私の罪も許してくださいませ。
A big hand reached out for ours. It was Mion's.
仲間の大切さを語るのは 部長である私の役目だと思ってただけに、いやはや私も部長失格かななんて。
At the end of the day, it was Keiichi. Hey, but you're the one who kind of instilled that value in him.
ミオ、
ごめん、ふざけたね。
Mion still smiled and scratched her head.
レナの境遇を察しなかったことを仲間として部長として恥じるよ。許してほしい。もちろんレナが私たちに相談しなかったことも許すよ。それは私が打ち明けるに足る存在じゃなかったってことだからね。
Yeah, that is kind of true, actually.
私はリーダーであらねばと日々努力しているはずなのに全然至ってなかった。その未熟さは私の責任だから、レナの罪を許す。
レナ、俺たちは全員手を重ねて差し伸べたぞ。こっちは全部揃った。あとはお前だけなんだ。手を伸ばせ、こっちへ来い。お前が本当に来たかった世界はもう手は全員が差し伸べてる。あとはレナだけなんだ。
Dude, this scene is really good. This is definitely the most emotional I've gotten playing Higurashi.
だからためらうな。
Could you imagine if she rejected it still?
レナは人殺しだよ。きっとみんなに迷惑をかけるよ。レナ、私たちは。
リカちゃん、もう余計なことは言わなくていい。俺たちは全員で手を重ねて差し伸べている。
Despite knowing that, you know?
この事実にこれ以上上塗りする言葉はない。だからレナにだって言葉はいらないんだ。ただ黙ってこっちへ手を伸ばせばいいんだ。来いレナ、夢とか幻とかじゃない。ましてや手遅れでも何でもない。レナにはまだ選べる選択肢が残ってるんだ。だから選べ。間に合う。来るんだ。俺たちはやり直せるんだ。
Rena slowly reached out, and her hand touched ours. She didn't hold our hands. All she needed to do was to touch our hands to show us her will. Rena chose to live, to share her life with her friends, rather than to refuse them for the rest of her life. I took a step closer to her and firmly grabbed her wrist. It was getting dark, and some stars had appeared in the sky. We all forgave each other for our sins for the first time. It was a little embarrassing, but Rena's tears made us all cry, and we just kept crying together. We stood in a circle, holding each other by the shoulder and putting our heads together in the middle. We are a family made of friends. We forgave each other, and we're happy together. There's a memory in the back of my mind, but it's not supposed to exist. I tried to save one of my friends in that world. In order to do that, I rejected all of my other friends, yeah. I was gonna say, it's kind of funny how much of an antithesis this is to Chapter 3, right? Despite me thinking it was going to be Chapter 3, we actually kind of got the exact opposite. I acted recklessly alone, and I brought about the end of the world. The situation we had here is the same as the incident in that faraway world, in the sense that people had been deprived of their lives in order to save one friend of mine. But other than that, it was different. We have Rena, Mion, Satoko, Rika-chan, and myself. Nobody was missing. We were going to regain them. We were going to regain those happy and peaceful days. The road going there might be a little rough, but we'll walk it together. We all will. Dang. I didn't really expect the junkyard scene to be this soon, to be honest. But it was a fantastic scene. That was such a good scene. I felt like during it I really wasn't saying anything, but it was so hard for me to want to butt in the middle of that scene. It was such a fantastic scene. I'm like, if I talk too much and ruin the pacing for myself, I mean for the viewers too, obviously that would kind of suck, but like, I'm like, I don't want to sit here and like ruin any potential pacing of the scene, right? Like for myself, right? I'm like, we can just talk about it afterwards. But this is probably a decent enough place to talk. Wow. I mean, what a scene, right? Starting with them accidentally stumbling upon everything, of course, and then we kind of jump straight into what we saw in that introduction, right? But just seeing Rena so vulnerable, right? So emotional, right? It was hard, right? Like, Keiichi, he really, like, this dude, I think it was Mion that said it. Mion was not kidding when she said that if he was born 100 years earlier, he'd be on currency. Like, the way this man can speak, you know? I mean, because Rena felt like she didn't feel the same way, right? Like, look, they had these kind of platitudes that friends are family and they would, like, basically do anything, right? But Rena didn't believe that, right? She didn't, because of the way things played out the prior year. And so she ignored all of them, right? And to fight for her happiness, right? And she kind of convinced herself it was the best path, but I mean, clearly deep down, this was not the path she wanted to go, and she's affected by this, right? Every time, I mean, we might look at Rena and see, like, when we saw her, it didn't seem like she felt really that guilty for it, but, like, this isn't the path she wanted to go down, and Keiichi kind of convinced her, in a way, I think, that was true, right? And that, yeah, maybe you were right to not trust your friends, but, like, I don't know, like, they've all grown. I would have helped you, right? Like, and we're still here for you. And they kind of came together as a group, and even if the context of what brought them together is kind of insane, and here they are as a group, you know, burying a body, 2 of them actually. It's kind of insane, but it was ultimately a really sweet moment and very raw and emotional. That was a fantastic scene, seriously. That is quite possibly the best scene in the game so far, to be honest. I don't think that's a stretch, honestly. We're just going to keep moving for now. I can't imagine the chapter's too much longer. And I'm only going to really have time for one sub-chapter again today, so I'm sure I'll talk about things a little more in that conclusion, but I just had to say it. Like, I didn't feel like I talked as much in that scene, or like really all that much, but like, that was such a good scene. That's why I wasn't really talking. I just wanted to make it clear that that scene was fantastic. It had an impact on me, you know, like, very, very good scene. We went to the place in the mountains of Higuchi that Rena had picked for burying the bags. Carrying corpses is such a scary thing to do, but it made us united more strongly because of that. Yeah? Oh, that's actually Higuchi, isn't it? It's probably Higuchi, not Higuchi. Since each part of the corpses is in a separate plastic trash bag, we can't tell what's inside in each bag by touching it. First, we forced ourselves to laugh whenever we had to touch the bodies because we were scared. But after a while, we got used to it, to the point where we could make jokes about it. Of course, all of that was probably a bluff, but we all tried our best. Mion somehow had detailed knowledge of how to hide corpses, and she told me to dig the hole deeper. Rika-chan helped to carry the bags. Sadako used her talent of setting traps to perfectly camouflage the place where we buried the bags. Me? I was in charge of digging the hole. Rena dug it earlier, but I made it a little deeper. After we finished all that, we walked back to the place where we parked our bicycles, and we looked back at the place where we buried the bags. It was completely unnoticeable. We'd never be able to find the place again once we left for home. That's how perfect it looked. So here's the things I'm wondering. The biggest concern is, what if someone in the friend group, like, kind of betrays them, right? Like, I can't help but feel like this is going to be found out, right? If we just actually committed a perfect crime, that would just be kind of insane. I feel like it's not going to go that way. Mion said it cheerfully, as if we just finished club activities or something. We had no more bags to carry, and we no longer had any burden to carry either. We got on our bicycles, but Rena was still standing there, looking into the distance.
Oi, Rena.
ごめん。ちょっと熱が出ちゃったみたいで、なんかぼーっとする。
Uh-oh. That's not good. That is not good. Rena's face looked slightly red. Mio touched Rena's forehead. It actually was a little warm. She had a tough day today. She had to go through so many things. She had to find a place to hide the corpses. She had to dig a hole. We caught her with the bags. We talked about our feelings, and we forgave each other. She must be exhausted after a day like that. Yeah, physically and emotionally.
レナ、今日は帰ったらゆっくり休め。
ありがとう。
We need Mio to be like, nah, you need to like go to Irie like right now, actually.
そうするね。
レナ、私たちはもう全部許し合ったんだよ。だから、自分を責めちゃダメだからね。
やっぱり、みんなの言う通りだったよ。
何がだ？
やっぱり私、自分を騙せてなんかなかった。
Yeah.
どう自分の行為を美化したって、私は心の中で恐ろしいことをしたと 怯えていた。
You'd have to be kind of insane not to be.
みんなに助けてもらって、ここまで来てこんななんだもん。もしみんなと会わずに、一人で全てを片付けていたら、
You'd have lived with fear for the rest of your life.
私は耐えきれず、潰されてしまったかもしれない。
Always worrying that what if it's figured out, and then even just like the guilt, like, you know, of what you did, obviously is a very big thing too. Right? Like, she said all this with a bitter smile. It might take her a long time to heal from the pain, but it must be 100 times shorter than the time it would have taken if she did this all alone. Rena's home was the closest from here. Rena went her way, and the four of us were left behind. Mio made a suggestion.
明日からなんだけどさ、みんな揃って今日のことを忘れるのがいいと思うんだけど。
I mean, that's probably for the best.
どう思う？
そうですわね。それが一番レナさんにとって優しいことになると思いますわ。レナは強い人です。僕たちがそう振る舞えば、レナもそう振る舞ってくれますですよ。
振る舞いもずっと続けてれば本当になるって言うもんな。
語らないことで、そのうち私たちは忘れていくよ。
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if this is something that's happened in another chapter too. Just let's forget about this and never talk about this again, right? Like, I don't know.
そして完全に忘れきった時が私たちのゴールだね。
おそらくその日は一生かけて来るか来ないかを探ることになると思いますです。
Rika knows she only has like 2 weeks to live?
そうかもしれませんわね。簡単に忘れられることではありませんでしたよ。
仮に生涯忘れられなくてもいい。大切なのは最後まで全員の胸にしまって秘めておくことなんじゃないかと思う。
Keiichi said, I'm the exact opposite from y'all. I'm not gonna forget this.
思い出させない方が大事だからね。
Yeah, if you can avoid it. We nodded in agreement just as my house came into view.
じゃあな、みんな。明日また学校でいつもの通りに。
いつもの通りに。いつも通りにトラップに引っかかり遊ばせですわね。じゃあね、ケイちゃん。
Alright, is that it then? I think it's gotta be. No, there's a little more. Okay, we're gonna see Rena's perspective. Oh, she's starting to feel sick. I worry about this. I really worry about this. After I parted with them, I still felt hot and dizzy. It felt really weird. I was even staggering to the front door. I felt as if I was floating in the air, like I just took some very strong cold medicine. Today, something very shocking, something that made me super happy, and something very embarrassing happened to me. I felt as if my heart and mind were about to explode because they were filled to the brim with both happiness and sadness. I don't know whether I made a crucial mistake today, or if I had the happiest day of my life. I don't know which it is, and all I could do was to stare blankly into space. I felt frustrated, too. Even though they were my friends, I was caught in the act of abandoning the corpses. But at the same time, I felt relieved that my reliable friends accepted what I did. Those emotions were all mixed up in my heart, and they were equally strong, making it difficult for me to decide what I was feeling. I was losing my sense of balance. It was like the world was warping around me. I heard sounds as if I was in a shower. Everything left me with a feeling of unreality. When those emotions were about to make me lose control, I felt a heat on my wrist. The part where Keiji-kun grabbed me earlier started throbbing. My feelings weren't cooperating with me, but the heat on my wrist calmed them down for me. I don't know how to express what I felt when my friends and I held shoulders together in a circle earlier, but the feeling was the only thing I knew to be real.
ただいま。あれ？
As soon as I opened the front door, I smelled it. It smelled really good. My father isn't good at cooking, but he likes trying to cook creative dishes. I remember he used to cook something very challenging whenever he was in a good mood. So this smell was a sign that he felt that way. That's why I always liked this smell. The reason he's in a good mood is because he found a job. And not just any job. He found a job with a company created by friends from his old workplace. They remembered my father and promised to hire him. He told me that some of his other colleagues from the old company are also working there. It must be very encouraging for him to work with people he knows, because he hasn't worked for a long time. Sounds like a pretty good situation for him. The dinner looked great, in contrast to how it tasted. It was a dinner to celebrate his new life, to show his determination, to regain his bond with his daughter, and to make a clean start. I talked about a lot of things with my father that night. It had been a long time since the last time I talked with him like this. I don't remember when it was, but it reminded me of the days I was still happy, which meant that I'd finally returned to that time. My father still believes that Tepe is coming back one day, so he's still very cautious about locking the doors and windows, and he gets scared every time someone rings the doorbell. I told him so many times that they'd never come back, but I couldn't convince him because I couldn't tell him the reason why they won't. He'll eventually realize that he's free. I'm sure it won't take too long. My heart was full of many, many emotions that day. If emotions could actually burst a heart open, it might happen to me. My brain must have been overworked because so many things happened at once. My head was still fuzzy, but I managed to crawl into bed. I felt like the ground was moving. I totally lost my sense of reality. I remember that I once felt like this when I got the flu. I might get a high fever tomorrow. I don't care. I don't care if I get sick tomorrow. I just wanted to enjoy the fact that I took a step towards the future of my decision. Keiichi-kun told me something like that today. The high fever and the dizziness made me feel frustrated for some reason. Whenever I felt frustrated, I felt the heat on my wrist too. I grabbed my wrist with my left hand tightly. It made the frustration go away, and it brought me relief. That feeling of, that connection, kind of brings her back, which is good. She's got something, you know? Even the dizziness I didn't like just before made me feel like I was in a down-filled futon. I was falling asleep in that down-filled futon on my first night in a new world. This dizziness didn't go away for a few days, but I gradually got used to it. This new world looked like the world I used to live in before, but the sunshine was a little bit brighter, and Keiichi-kun's smile looked a little bit more gentle than before. Oh wow, we're not done? Okay, I don't have a problem with this. I'm just kind of shocked. We made more noise than we used to. We spent every day slowly, but in high spirits. Oh, what an idiot I am. I underestimated that dizziness, and I caught a summer cold in June. I wanted to get better as soon as possible. I should have taken a day off from club activities, but I forced myself to play with them every day, and that made it hard for me to get better. I finally learned my lesson recently. I don't need to feel frustrated. There's no limit to happiness in this world. As long as we keep wishing for it, it'll continue forever. I don't need to feel frustrated anymore, because tomorrow I will have the happiness I have today. It's about to get shattered again. We'll have the Watanagashi Festival next Sunday. Michan tells us that we'll have a lot of fun and that we'll go extra crazy. I really can't wait. There we go. Things are about to go wrong again, of course. Just when things got right. Okay, let's see what's going on with the tip. Letter from the forestry office. I have a bad feeling about this. They're gonna be like, we found this entire friend group in the forest. Let's do this tip, and then we'll talk about this chapter. We kind of already talked about it a little bit, but we'll talk about it some more. We like talking here. It's still June, yet the air is filled with the cries of cicadas. How is everyone in Hinamizawa doing? The Watanagashi Festival is coming just around the corner. We staff members from the Forestry Service are going to perform a wood sculpting demonstration at the festival. We'll be happy to lend out our tools and teach your kids how to sculpt wood themselves. It'll be an excellent memorial gift. Also, we would like to inform everyone that we're going to cut down trees in the local hills this summer as part of the Number XX Forest Landscape Management Project. This project involves preserving the beauty of the forest by cutting down old trees and planting new ones. The Forestry Service needs volunteers who are interested in helping us cut down the old trees. You can enjoy the beauty of nature under the blue sky while helping out with this preservation activity. The project will begin during summer break, so you can bring your kids too. This will be a good opportunity for your kids to learn about nature and have a valuable experience. Oh no. Yep. Oh my god! The locations of the project are the forests in the Taketsudo and Yagochi areas. Well, well, well. It seems as expected. Nothing can ever go right in Higurashi, and those corpses are going to be found. Without a doubt. And now everyone's fingerprints are on them. Banger. Okay, there's really not much to discuss about that tip. I mean, it's... You can hardly even call it foreshadowing, because it's so obvious, right? Like, there's no way these bodies don't get found, right? Like... Oh, no. Well... That's not good. I don't know what else to say. That's not good. That's not good. They fought for this happiness. They got it. Like, Rena fought for this happiness, and she ultimately got it, and she's about to lose it again. Oh, no. Jesus. Poor Rena. Poor Rena. I mean, that's just so unlucky. Like, what do you do, right? Like, literally, what do you do? That's just bad fortune. I mean, yeah, there's really not much else to talk about with the tip, right? Just really bad luck. Really bad luck. So I guess let's talk a bit about the chapter itself. And, I mean, when you talk about this chapter, what else is there to really talk about besides the junkyard scene, right? Like, I mean, like everything before it was kind of building up to it, and everything after was kind of like the resolution to that scene. But the scene itself, that was a raw scene, right? A lot of raw emotion, right? You could kind of see, like, I think it was honestly like a perfect summary of Rena's character up to this point, and not just in this chapter, right? Look, like, I think it kind of says a lot about her in the other chapters as well, right? Like, look, it explains chapter 1. Like, literally, that simple, right? Like, if Rena feels the way she does, if she feels that the friend group didn't save Satoshi, right? If she feels that she failed to seize her happiness and protect those, or like people around her, like when she, like in her eyes, failed to prevent the divorce, right? Which led to her father's unhappiness. She couldn't do anything for Satoshi, and that led to his disappearance, right? And then in chapter 1, she sees Keiichi going down the same route, and she does something, right? And it's because this is the way she's felt, right? That she has failed, that she has sinned. That was kind of her way of atoning, right? I mean, and then also you kind of see that at the same time, I don't think it's unfair to say that while she was friends with all of them, she never viewed that friend group as a family, right? She never viewed them as reliable, really people she could trust. They were just people she played with, right? Which is kind of sad that she felt that way. But I mean, I guess if you look at the prior year, it kind of makes sense, right? She didn't, I don't know, she saw someone in their friend group who needed help, and everyone knew it, and they never got it, right? And this clearly all had an impact on Rena, like a lasting impact, right? And it's probably a big part of why she never really felt at home in Hinamizawa, why she felt like she belonged in the scrapyard alone, right? Or in the junkyard, you know? Because, like, she didn't feel like she belonged in her own house. And while she had fun with all of her friends, she didn't really view them as a family, right? And so she felt like she had to deal with her problem alone. This time she was put in that situation where, she was in a very, very bad situation, and needed this person removed, right, from that situation. And ultimately, what's the easiest, most foolproof way to do that? It's to just kill them, right? Straight up, like, you know, You want to know how to not have problems with someone ever again? Make them cease to exist. Not that I morally can condone that or endorse that. I don't. But, like, if you're in Rena's spot, I can get why you'd get to that point, is the thing, right? I can get why you'd get to that point, right? And she didn't, like I said, she did not, ultimately, she did not trust her friends, right? She didn't think she was going to get any help. She thought she was in it all alone, right? Now, look, Keiichi came back and was like, no, you're wrong. Like, we would have helped you, right? Like, look, when Rena told everybody about their sins, it clearly hurt all of them, right? Looking back at these, they all knew they sinned, right? Like, or not maybe, like, I mean, I think that's a fine way to put it, but that they failed, right? They failed Satoshi, and I think that's a perfectly fine way to put it. Look, no matter what, I don't think you can debate whether or not Mion failed Satoshi. Maybe she tried some things behind the scenes, but ultimately she failed him, right? She was perhaps the person with the most chance of being able to help him, right? Rika, she could have maybe done something, right? Not physically, but she could have maybe, I don't know, gotten some people to help. I'm guessing she's tried that before and it didn't work, if I had to guess, honestly, but, you know, I don't know. She didn't really do anything either. Satoko, if she could have gotten along with the aunt, right, like, not to kind of victim blame here, but if she could have gotten along with the aunt, or at least, like, not got along with her, if that makes sense, if she could have kept that relationship from being completely vitriolic, you know, then he might not have been cornered like that, right? Like, Satoshi, right, if, like, I don't know, like, she certainly exasperated the problem. I mean, like, she points this out to all of them, and they all know this, but Keiichi kind of picks up on the fact that, look, you're right, I wasn't there. But they all feel this way. They all know that they failed, right? That they sinned. And they grew from that. Here's the thing. You weren't mature enough to realize that. That we would have helped you now, right? And we would have helped you. I would have helped you, right? And at first she doesn't want to believe it because she's having a really hard time basically accepting that, especially because it means if she had done that, she might not have had to dirty her hands, right? You know, and ultimately, like, we saw it, Rena, like, we saw this in Rena's thoughts. Deep down, she ultimately didn't really believe that, like, this is never the route she wanted to go down, right? Like, she never wanted to become this, right? And Keiichi's the only one who's willing to point it out. I mean, Keiichi literally, like, carried that whole, I don't want to say he carried the scene, right? But, like, towards the resolution we got, he did carry that, right? Like, he carried it to the resolution we got. Rena was gonna firmly reject them, right? And just basically be like, I fought for my own happiness. It is what it is, right? Sorry. Like, well, sorry, not sorry, you know? Was more the vibe she gave off. But, like, God, that was just such a good scene. It was so raw. Seeing, like, it was a perfect breakdown of Rena's character, right, in all the chapters, as well as what she's been driven to in this chapter, kind of seeing that past of Hinamizawa in 1982 kind of coming into play and how it affected everyone. Because we've seen how it's affected everyone, but I don't know, realizing just how much it damaged that trust was, that was hard. That was I don't want to say tough to see, because I mean it kind of was, but like it was really interesting, right? The way that it all came back around, right? Like full circle there. And then finally Keiichi's like, look, you might not have seen it at the time, but we're still your family. We're still all in this with you, right? We're a family of friends, right? And I always find that a powerful message, you know, like in it together, family of friends. I mean, you know, murder is obviously so a very big one to bond over, but you know, they were ultimately able to do it. And right now they're of the belief that they got that happiness back and it's gonna last, right? Rena's life seems back to how it was, which is awesome, until it won't be, of course. But I think there's two really, like, besides speaking about the obvious, about how awesome that scene was, about how raw it was emotionally, right? Look, that was a fantastic scene. Like I said, that might be the best scene in the game so far. A very, very good scene. The way it brought everything together, right? I felt like it brought literally everything together. But there's two things that we really are kind of being, I think, brushed over a little bit. I say two, and I've already kind of forgotten one of them, so maybe one of them wasn't that important. Which, how did I... No, okay, I remember it. So I'm going to talk about that one first. The first one is Rika, right? She is, like, in the other mode, right? In that scene, and that's fascinating, right? She is, like, in that more mature mode, and it seems like everyone kind of notices it, but no one really thinks about it too much. That suddenly she's speaking like a I don't know, like so much more formally and with a different voice. I think the Rika that was speaking to us in that scene is not the Rika necessarily that is just in this chapter. I think it is just the Rika, like the one that's gone across all the routes, right? Like when she says she did stand by and do nothing, and she's proud of Rena for standing strong, right? I think this is because of what everything she's seen and gone through, and like she knows how hard it is to take a stand like that, right? I think that's really interesting, but her appearance makes me wonder if we're going to see that Rika more this route, which would be really interesting. I feel like this route it might be sneaky about Rika a lot too, right? And that's interesting because I think we're getting at that point where I'm like, we need information on Rika, right? Like, we need it. Like, we need more. Feed me more information, please, right? So that was very interesting. And the other thing I want to mention, this is kind of the elephant in the room. Like, I say that, it kind of glosses over this, but it kind of also doesn't. How the hell does Keiichi remember Chapter 3? Look, I've kind of mentioned this idea several times that there's kind of bleed through from other routes, right? People are remembering things that didn't happen in this chapter. But this is the most blatant example by a huge amount. Right, like, look, before it was like, yeah, Keiichi remembered the Moki incident, right? Vaguely. Remembered one small piece of it, right? But that's very different from being like, damn, I murdered Teppei for real. I'm not just saying that. I'm not just saying I would have done that. I've done that. When did I do that? And why... I did it alone, right? And I think that's part of why he was so adamant about accepting Rena, right? He literally remembered. He was like, oh, I did this once. Things did not end well. Not for me, not for anyone else. So I think it's better as a group that we come together, right? Like, right? But he remembered that. He remembered the disaster. That's crazy, right? And so I really think we're going to... there's no way we don't get more about this, right? Look, I've already said it a million times. I obviously think this is a time loop story. And I feel like that is as close to confirming it as possible. Because why would Keiichi remember that if it didn't literally happen at some point? And presumably, this is one of the more recent timelines. I'm not saying that there's not timelines in between the main chapters. But compared to like chapter 1 and 2, I assume 3 is more recent. It'd be kind of funny if things are out of order. It's not impossible, to be clear. I don't really know. But so it would make sense that that's kind of what bleeds through. But maybe it's just kind of something here as simple as like, he has a very strong feeling on this and he has a very similar memory, and so it comes back to him. Right, and that's fascinating. I really wonder if we're going to get anything else like that. If we're going to maybe get some information on these chapters as a result. of memories from these chapters, despite them not happening here. I don't know. I think that's the route that this might it might go down that route. We're obviously going to go down the route of we go to Watanagashi, presumably Tomotage and Takano die. Maybe there's something up with that and we learn something with that. That'd be fascinating. But then I assume we're going to see the bodies get dug up. They're probably going to suspect Rika, the police, right? If I had to guess. I assume they're going to be on her tail. And we're probably going to see Rika's death again, right? Like, I don't know. Like, there's a lot that could still happen in this chapter, right? And the thing it seemed to be building towards, it built towards it already. So right now, there isn't even we're going to get to this point where Rena's confessing her sins. We're done with that. We're done with that, right? So, like, there's a lot of directions this could go. I'm really interested to see where this is going to go. This is a fantastic chapter so far, right? For as much as I was convinced this is going to just be a chapter 1 or chapter 3 rehash, I'm really glad that it kind of wasn't ultimately. That we're kind of getting this unique scenario. Because like I said, first of all, we got arguably the best scene in the game out of it, if you ask me. I can't off the top of my head think of a scene that was better than that one, right? Like I said, it was so emotional, but not even just that. It brought a lot of things together story-wise, right? Like the character stories, right? Character story-wise, it brought a lot of things together. And I thought that was a fantastic scene. I can't think of one that I think was better than that. There might still be one, and maybe there's some scenes that could probably compete. Nothing's really jumping out to me right now. That was such a good scene. They built up to it, and it didn't disappoint, right? And that's, I think, it's hard to do, right? When you build up to a scene like that, you start the introduction basically implying that we're gonna get here, right? This is gonna happen, right? She's gonna confess everything to everyone, right? And to still nail the execution like that, and it to be even better than I expected, like, that's a hard thing to do. That's seriously impressive, right? But it makes me wonder how good the rest of this chapter is going to be. I've heard a lot of good things about this chapter so far, and I assume it's not going to fall off a cliff here, right? Maybe I'll have different opinions than everyone else. I don't want to, like, hype it up like, I know this is going to be the greatest chapter, right? Because other people said it will be, so I'm going to love it like everyone else. Hopefully I will. But so far, it's off to a fantastic start, and if it can keep this momentum, Chapter 5 might get dethroned already. Like, it might. It just might. But this is, like I said, fantastic episode. Fantastic chapter as a whole so far. I'm really looking forward to seeing where we go with this chapter. I kind of, like I said, I already spitballed some ideas for what it's going to be. I'm not going to do that again. I think there's a lot of things that could still be revealed. A lot of big character moments that we could have that will be interesting to see. And I'm really looking forward to seeing more. But that's going to be all I have time for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know I really did. This was a fantastic episode. I hope you guys are enjoying the chapter as a whole. And whenever the next video comes out, I hope to see all of you guys there. Peace.